And on the 29th of September, there will be a strike in Spain. That's where the movement begins. A general strike in Spain against the government and the socialist government of Spain. I mean, they call themselves socialists. They're not socialists. They're social democrats. All over the country. It's all over the world. There are no socialist governments. There are social democrat governments. And those, Papandreou in Greece is a social democrat. He's not a socialist.
Well, one could say that you're a social democrat too, because you're a socialist and you're running democratically for a position in the Senate. That's the definition, isn't it, of social democrat?
Well, that's for the purpose of bringing socialism to the community. You asked me what I could do, and I said, if I were there, I could be one vote against, or I could hold hearings, but I can't change it. And if there are a whole bunch of me's in Congress...
You could change it.
No.
No?
No. No. When even Roosevelt almost got overthrown. You know, there was a coup in progress of Joseph Kennedy and the DuPonts and the Morgan, and that whole bunch were involved in a conspiracy to overthrow the government. And if Major General Smedley Butler hadn't disclosed what was going on, we would be part of a military dictatorship today. I mean, we don't know how close we almost came to being a military, and it was only Roosevelt. All he gave us was what social democrats might have given us, you know, Social Security, unemployment benefits. But he also gave us war to get out of an economic depression. But on September 29th, that strike is now spreading. There's a parade going on now that begins in Spain, it's in France, on its way to Brussels, to call on all the nations of Europe for a general strike on the 29th. And the unions finally went along with it in Spain, but now the Spanish workers are in rebellion against the unions at last. They say, this is going to be not a one-day strike that the unions called for. We're going to be on strike for 7 days, general strike in Spain. And they're pushing to have it happen all over Europe. And the Socialist Party of the United States is pushing to have it happen here. We should all be in the streets with our brothers and sisters from Europe who are going through the same. I mean, while they're talking in the United States about cutting Social Security or increasing the age, or we have tremendous unemployment, Europeans are going through the same thing. And we should recognize that and begin to see that we are not united through NATO. That's not what brings us together. What brings us together is the common interest of working people everywhere. That corporate capitalists are making money off us. And they're either exploiting us or they're exploiting the environment and destroying the planet we live on to make profit. And either we stop them or they'll never be stopped. And we will destroy us. I heard another well went down in the Gulf of Mexico recently.
Yes, I saw it yesterday on TV.
People say, oh, that's a tragedy. Bhopal is a tragedy. It's not a tragedy. It is absolutely the only result you can expect from corporate capitalism, because they don't care about anything but profit. And as long as they don't care about profit, they don't care about the planet. They only care about the bottom line for this quarter.
But when you talk about capitalism or social corporatism, what do you do about the widow that owns a small amount of stock in a company, or the pension programs that have stock? Their pension depends upon the stock of a company.
The fundamental principle of socialism is from each according to ability, to each according to need. And that's the other part that we have to look at. We have to take care of each other. We have to be willing to take out of our pockets to make sure that everybody has the necessities of life. And I talk about it sometimes in terms of, you know, we should have 100% tax on incomes over a certain level, and we should have a guaranteed minimum income for each person. But those are sort of policy things that don't reflect the basic. I mean, people aren't going to do that as long as we have corporate capitalism. We're not going to take care of our neighbors. I mean, the only way we could go see Elephant Man, and you'll see what that means. I mean, for me, charity exists for the purpose of preserving poverty. You know, wealthy don't want to pay their fair share to help the rest of the world, so they have charity, and they induce to contribute to charity because they get a tax break. Now, we have to move again away from the things that we believe in, because they're just nonsense pounded into our heads that we have to compete with each other. During the Depression of the 30s, my wife's father was in the photo engraving business. Business over the course of several years dropped to 40% of what it had been, 60% of what it had been. Not a single worker lost his or her job. The union agreed that they would just reduce the hours of everybody rather than anybody got laid off.
That seems the fair thing to do.
Well, but that's the way we have to start looking at the whole picture. When we are, I mean, I just noticed that there was there was an extension granted on unemployment benefits, and it was paid for by reducing the amount of money available for food stamps. I mean, that's nonsense, right? We have to begin to look at ourselves as part of a human community and not as individuals. We have to see ourselves as part of humanity. That guy who just got killed by a drone in Pakistan is my brother. We have to start. Until we do that, we cannot change the system. We really, and it takes stepping back, you know, to say the Muslim who wants to build a mosque in Manhattan is my brother. And the key to all of it is the fraud that is 9/11. Once the people, and we already are up to almost 2,000 architects, engineers, scientists who are saying, how did nanothermite get into these three buildings? Now, nanothermite is only used to take down buildings in their own footprint by explosion. How did nanothermite get into these three buildings?
And they found that in the dust after the buildings came in.
Not only in that dust, but in other dust that had blown around the city. And at the site of building number 7. And then he asked the question, well, jet fuel burns at X. The puddle of molten metal that was there was at 2X. How could that be hotter than the jet fuel? Oh, that's another miracle. Right? I mean, it's once you take that one apart, then you can step back and look at all the rest of the stuff. It's a miracle. The market will take care of everything. Horsepucky. All right? What the market does is take people who want to exploit other people and the people who just want to live their lives, and it exploits those who want to just live their lives. And we have to step back again and just say, no, those are my brothers and sisters. We go together. We are part of the working class, and we have to change the world.
That's why I've always said that freedom in America means freedom for the rich, to make slaves out of the poor. And that, if you're not rich, that doesn't seem like freedom to me.
Somebody, I don't recall who it was, said, the justice in its highest form treats the rich and poor alike for sleeping under bridges and stealing bread. The rich and poor get treated alike for those things.
And the rich don't need it, but the poor go to jail.
Yeah, well, you think of it in terms of a traffic ticket. Right? What the fine for anything is a kind of imprisonment. It imprisons a little chunk of your life from your past, known as the time that you work. It imprisons your work time. So if you make $10 an hour and you get fined $40, You've been fined, had 4 hours of your work time from yesterday imprisoned. But if you make, if the fine is $40 and you make $1,000 an hour, like Goldman Sachs or the banksters, the robber barons, it's nothing. Right? You can't. It's so small you can't even measure it. Now,
You could apply the same thing, I think, to tax policy.